Inside New Orleans Sports with Eric Asher is underwritten by...
At Villeries Florist, we deliver the magic of flowers 7 days a week to the North Shore and South Shore in the New Orleans area. Whether it's for birthday parties, baby celebrations, Villeries provides colorful floral displays for all. With a store full of fresh-cut flowers, exotic tropical flowers, orchids, roses, and even fruit baskets, our goal is to make your vision a reality. Villeries Florist, proudly serving Louisiana since 1969.
Dave Miette Insurance Agency. Auto, home, flood, business, 504-556-0809. Dave Miette, INSagency.com.
For over 48 years, Southern Tires and Auto Repair has provided services across the New Orleans metro area. Southern Tires offers a range of tires for all vehicles and ATVs. We also have a full suite of auto repair options, including brake repair, rim repair, custom exhaust, steering and suspension, tire siping, and so much more. Southern Tires and Auto Repair, 2550 Hickory Avenue in Metairie.
C&C Drugs is a family-owned pharmacy that's been serving Southeast Louisiana for over 50 years. Whether you need help taking care of an elderly family member, a growing child, or even a pet, C&C provides patient-centered care for your entire family. C&C Drugs, large enough to serve you, small enough to know you. Locations in Mandeville and Araby.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Over the next hour, we're going to cover the Saints draft. And of course, backed by popular demand. I do mean popular demand. Always getting emails, getting a request from Mike Detillier of WWL Radio, and he's in the house. Mike, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, thank you, Eric.
First of all, again, for folks that don't know, again, Mike, tell us about the radio show and how folks can keep up with you.
Yeah, WWL every afternoon. Either 4 to 6 or 4 to 8, depending on what's going on. Yeah. You know, LSU baseball, God bless them.
Yeah.
You know, they
get a reprieve.
They clip me sometimes at 6:30. So yeah, we good. But every day, Monday through Thursday, I'm on, and so Bobby and I we do our best.
Yeah, no, y'all cut it up. No doubt about it. Mike, let's start off with the draft with the Saints. First of all, before we get into it, just look. I know it's one of those deals where we got to look about 3 years from now to get the grade, but just based on what they did, a grade.
I'm not a good grade giver until I see it, but I thought they hit a lot of the needs on their team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how it'll work out remains to be seen, and how it's used. I really like the second-round pick in Isaiah Foskey, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about it, but I like that pick. Kendra Miller, I think, will come in and give you a big man power speed element to the game. I like the lineman from Old Dominion.
Yes.
He is going to kick inside the guard.
Right.
And Jim Nagy and I talked about this before he went to the Senior Bowl, and we thought Nick might be better off at center.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so he goes there, he takes some reps at tackle, and then Saldiveri decides, you know what, okay, you got to kick me inside the guard. He's lobbying, hey, I want to play center. He never played it before.
Okay.
And so he started 35 games at right tackle and then 1 game at right guard. And, man, he got in there at the center position, really did well. But I think he's going to be your right guard somewhere down the line, either because of injury or because, you know, somebody moves on. And so those selections, I think, certainly makes a lot of sense. Brian Bresee.
Let's start there.
He's big. He's athletic. He runs the field extremely well for a big man.
Right.
The one thing with him is, man, he gives you a lot of effort, and okay, that jumps out on film. He's a good chase down guy, number 1 rated defensive tackle in the country coming out of high school. He never quite hit the high marks at Clemson. He didn't hit that sort of level. He was a good player. People, you got to bring it up because it's part of his resume that he had some injuries.
Yes.
He had the knee injury, he had the shoulder injury. That's not my biggest concern for Brzee. I've been doing this 37 years now. He is a high-cut 6'5" plus defensive tackle. Those guys have difficulties entering the NFL.
Okay.
First, right off the bat, and this is no knock on him because he was asked to do this. When you at Clemson, you playing in a slant scheme. Everything kind of cocked one way or another, and then they move you around, but you always sort of at an angle. So from a technique standpoint, hitting the NFL, that's the jump you have to make.
Right.
That's a new technique, going head up against somebody. I think he's a good pass rusher with the potential to be a little bit better, but the technical part of the game, it's going to take him a little while. Okay. Don't expect this guy to come in here and take over. That's not going to happen. The second thing is, and there are always exceptions to the rule, a 6'5" plus defensive tackle who's high cut. I can have a 6'5" guy, but he's all torso.
Right.
You okay? Look at Brzee. He's all legs. So, man, he's going to have to learn how to get lower, play with better leverage. And we've went through this before that, some guys have struggled with that part. Because, if you got all those legs, man, that offensive lineman, they're going to try to low bridge you, try to get you and maneuver you around a little bit unless you can play low. There are exceptions to the rule. Chris Jones was a high-cut 6 foot. He's bigger than what Brzee is. Yes. Comes out of Mississippi State. He didn't have one technique in the world. He was just bigger, faster, stronger than everybody else. He goes to the Chiefs. This ain't working. Right. So he struggled that first year. And his defensive line coach, Brandon Daly, comes to our Louisiana line camp. He's a Pete Jenkins protege. Right. And he said, Mike, all we did was work with him for the first 2 years on playing lower, using better leverage. At 6'5½", and man, he's leggy.
Right.
he's got some legs on him. And even Chris at the Symposium a year ago in Dallas for the defensive lineman, he said, I had to learn all this all over. First 2 years, I struggled. And he said, I really struggled playing the run. I could get off the snap and get you a pass rush, but I struggled to play the run. I was getting kind of blown out here and there. But he got it now. Right. I mean, man, but he's an exception to the rule. The other guy, recently, I would say over the last 10 years, Jones certainly sticks out. But DeForest Buckner, come out of Oregon. He's a 6'7" guy. He goes to the 49ers first-round pick. Well, then he wanted to get paid. Oh, can't afford you. So they sent him to Indianapolis. And he's developed this, and he explained it to me. I developed this crab technique where you get real low, almost like a crab. You get real low, and he said, because, if I try to go up against them, they just kind of push me around. So he developed this little crab technique, and it's worked for him. Right. But you look across the board, who are the dominant interior players today, other than Chris? Right. You look at an Aaron Donald. Okay, look how big he is. Right. He's a little over 6 foot tall. Right. Grady Jarrett with the Falcons. He's 6'1½". Right. Stand up next to Vita Vea. Right. Okay. He's 6'3", but he's got a torso that's almost like double the size of his legs, and he's low bridge. Man, you can't get under and move him around. Javon Hargrave, who was with the Eagles a year ago, he cashed in big with the 49ers. He's 6'2". Fletcher Cox is interesting because he's right under 6'4", but he's all torso. Doesn't have the long legs, and so you can see that that's worked for him. The other guy too is Dexter Lawrence, who's the younger version of Cox. They're the same player, except kind of like the before and the after version of it. And they both right around 6'4". But they've made it work because of the fact they're not built the same as Brzee. Right. Quinnen Williams, we saw him at Alabama, great player. He's developed into a really good player with the Jets. He's 6'2" and a little bit of change. It's all kind of these shorter cut guys. It's not the high cut. the high cut guys over the last few years. 49ers got rid of Buckner. Who did they pick? Javon Kinlaw. Man, remember him? He came out of South Carolina. 6'5.5", 320-pound guy. He's wired to a block almost like he got Velcro, and then he's been hurt. But again, the technique part of that is he comes up, and he's all legs, man, and they take him here and there. Jerry Tillery, who's from Evangel Christian in Shreveport.
Right.
Les wanted to bring him in as an offensive tackle, but Brian Kelly was, no, you can play defensive tackle here at Notre Dame. They brought him to Notre Dame, first-round pick of the Chargers, didn't make it. He got cut, and he's with the Raiders today. You think about Taven Bryan, who's a first-round pick of the Florida Gators, 6'5" guy. He's built very much like Brian Bresee.
Right.
First-round pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars, cut. Now he's with the Colts as a backup. Michael Brockers, and he's the example close to here. Man, Mike's all legs. I mean, he's a big guy, but he's all legs. And he's had a solid career, but he's sort of bounced around a little bit. It never say the high notes. And a lot of it, technique. So for Brian, it's learning how to play over the top, so to speak, differently than when he played at Clemson. And the fact is, he's going to have to play with a much lower base and learn how to use leverage better. Because when there's nothing he can do about it. It's not his fault. But how you built with that high cut, you giving people all kind of legs to kind of take you out. Pete Jenkins has this theory that he really believes when you built that way, and like he said, there's always exceptions to the rule, that you are more susceptible to injuries because your legs are exposed and your shoulders. Because they can kind of maneuver you around. Next thing you know, you're falling on your shoulder. And Pete's had that theory for a long time. But it's funny how, I saw Chris Jones beat it. But, man, he talked about it was 2 years. I had to learn how to do everything different. DeForest was sort of the same way. I had to learn. But he said, I developed that kind of crab technique. When you watch the Colts, watch how DeForest Buckner lines up. And it's almost like a crab. He's all up front with those legs. And then, man, he comes off that snap, and he's low already. So you can't maneuver him around. Chris hits you with power and speed, but he's learned how to play lower. So for Bresee, if you think he's going to come in here and be a huge impact player, that's putting a lot on his table, and a lot of this is not his fault. Because now he's learning a new technique, and what Clemson showed him is totally different when they'll play in the NFL. And now you got guys that, man, they know how to tie you up. If you built a certain way. And you can be a 6'5" guy, but sometimes you look at a 6'5" guy, and they're huge in the torso, not necessarily in the legs. Look how Bresee is built. He's built like what we talked about with a Kinlaw, with a Bryan, with a Tillery, with a Brockers, that all legs. That's not conducive sometimes to playing well inside. That's why I would move him outside.
That's what was going to be the next question. Where does he play? What technique does he play if he plays defensive tackle, or do you move him out to end?
I think eventually you may see him kicked outside. I think you may see it. Because, listen, a tall, leggy guy, man, give me that for the outside part. Because that part of the game is differently from playing inside. You one-on-one with somebody, and you want to use those legs. Well, first of all, you want to use your hands. You come up to snap, and you kind of pin, push, get around, and use your legs just to spin around it or spin inside. It's different when you're an interior guy. And I like a guy who's leggy but out on the edge, not necessarily inside, because I think it makes it so much more difficult to do. Joe Green was a great player. Me and Joe Green. Joe was 6'4", and Joe's deal was, look how I'm built. Now we saw Joe. He's got an upper body that's almost like twice the size of his legs. And he wore those oversized pads. So Joe's deal was, I gave you the visual, man, if you're going to beat me, you're going to catch me up top. That's exactly what Joe wanted you to do, to go high on him, and then he could stab you and then get around the edge. And so it's difficult when you that tall cut.
Right.
Not necessarily height, but how you built on that 6'5" frame.
I said classic boomer bust only because of the red flags, because of the injuries.
I'm not concerned about that. I'm going to be honest with you.
Even based on what you just said about, again, the knees and the shoulder.
That's a Pete Jenkins thing that Pete thinks you are more susceptible
because
to
those
that.
are the two injuries.
Those are the two injuries.
You throw out the kidney infection, and of course you have empathy for the sister who died of cancer. But you worry. I worry about him coming to a team that's had problems with injuries, had problem keeping guys on the field, and you're selecting someone that is already, again, his career, I don't want to say was cut short, but maybe didn't reach the heights it could have because of the injuries after his freshman year.
That is a point, and it is part of your resume. No matter what, if you're injured or not injured, that's part of it. For me, a lot of times I see when he goes up against a really good technician up front, they wire him. You know, he's wired to him. I mean, and so that, to me, told me from a technical standpoint, he's going to need some work with whoever's going to be around him. If it's Grantham or whoever, he's going to need some work there. Because if you come off that line of scrimmage and you come off high, man, they'll move you around left and right. That's a bigger concern for me. And against the run, because maybe you can get a little gap where you can get a pass rush.
Low man wins, right?
Low man wins against the run. So now you 6'5", you got all those legs. Again, it's going to be a process for Brian Brzee.
I heard an interview you did with Pete Jenkins before they drafted him.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, Pete was at Clemson all those years, and Pete was like, he's got some physical development he's going to have to go through. Because Pete's deal is, Mike, I saw what you saw. When you told me that, he said, I could have told you the exact same thing. And he said, you know, it's not his fault, the scheme. It's not his fault, the way he's built. But Pete said, I think it'll be at least 2 years before you see him really start to play on a consistent basis. He said, I think it'll be part of a rotation. But he was worried about how quickly he could develop for this team. And he used that term, physical development.
Right. When you look at physical stature, everything else, you think the Saints have because they, you know, obviously they want him at defensive tackle.
Yep, right now they do.
Right now they do. Well, you think eventually it could be an end?
I think he might be an end.
Let's take the second round pick, who again just jumps off the charts when you look at his game tape. And what he was able to do at Notre Dame, Isaiah Foskey. Talk about him and your thoughts.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. I think the development I saw from him early in his career till today is really a show of his hard work. Okay, I can tell you he's fast and he's quick and he's athletic. You can figure that one out real quick. So I'll ask you a question there. You watch a lot of college football. Tell me another player on Notre Dame on defense. Okay.
Right.
You know how many players they had drafted on defense this year?
How many? Right.
0. Now, they had 2 offensive players.
Right.
Michael Mayer at tight end.
Yep, right.
And they had Jarrett Patterson at the center guard. No player on defense.
Right.
Okay, if I'm playing up against Notre Dame, wait a minute now. That guy's making all the plays. Wait, I'm going to figure out a way to take him out one way or another. I thought Marcus Freeman did a very good job. And Marcus, I think, is a really good defensive coach. Now, offensively, that's a little bit shaky for me with him, and he's got to figure out what he wants to do. But defensively, he knows it. He moved him around because if I have that type player, and I just keep him, let's say he's on the left side and he's standing up all the time, I can figure out what to do that he doesn't make that play, or I'll make it more difficult for him to make it. So he moved him left, he moved him right. He moved him with a stand-up position, and he put him down, hand on the ground, as a stand-up as a defensive end.
Right.
So you didn't know exactly where he was coming from. Look how productive he was, Eric. I mean, he put up some unbelievable numbers at Notre Dame. So the thing about most people couldn't tell you a second name on defense.
Right.
You'd have a difficult time, and they had no other players drafted on defense. None. He was the guy. Look how productive he was. But he's going to have to develop a little bit better power game.
Okay.
Because he's winning. He's winning with speed and quickness. And he's got
the frame to put on more muscle, too.
Yeah. I think he's Eric. He's a guy that could put on 10, maybe 12 pounds, and we good in the 70s, 270s. And he may be the eventual replacement full-time for Cam Jordan when Cam decides to move on.
I thought that might be the vision.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The thing with him is physically he's going to have to get a little stronger.
Right.
And when he came on with us right after he got picked, I brought it up to him, and he's like, yeah, I'm working on it. But one of the things I brought up to him, and he kind of told me the story, was after his sophomore year, he said, I had developed this speed, quickness move. In a deal when you get off the line and it's like you put that right hand on him and then slap him with the left hand and you get inside. And he said, then I would reverse it. I'd hit him with the right and then I'd swing around on the left. He said, man, then all of a sudden they started figuring out that I was doing that consistently. So he said, I came up with a few counter moves. And I see that. How he did that between his sophomore and the start of his senior year, he developed not only a moves, plural, he developed the counter moves. And I like that. That goes to show you, man, he's taking care of business.
Right.
He knows that you got film on me, and if I'm a tackle, now I know what you're going to use on me, but now I'm going to throw you something different. And so I like the pick of Isaiah Foskey. I think he's a very good prospect, and I think he can help you right away as an edge rusher and maybe give you some production that was taken away when Caden Ellis walked and went to Atlanta.
Yes. You can't teach explosion. You can't teach athleticism. You can't teach length. He's got all three.
He got all three. We got all three of that. Right. He's a really smart player, a very quick pickup guy. He gets it. I mean, you don't have to go through rep after rep after rep.
Right.
Some coaches, they preach that rep stuff. My thing is, go through a quality rep.
Right.
That's, to me, much more important than just running it through.
And you mentioned not a lot of great defenders on that Notre Dame defense, but 11 sacks his last 2 years, 26.5 overall, and that's with an offense that are keying on him, right? Because he's rushing the passer.
Yeah, everybody. Okay, if I'm going up against Notre Dame,
right?
Okay, it's like you and I. Okay, that second guy. Where is that second guy? A front seven. I know it's him, so I got to do something to combat him. But Marcus was smart. So smart to say, okay, I know that's what you're going to do, but I'm going to show you. I'm going to move him around, and I'm going to use him in different spots. I suspect the Saints will do something similar.
That's good, though, right? The ability to – some guys can't move from left to right. You can't move.
Some guys are much better.
You
like,
put them on one
put
side,
me on the left, and I'm up against a right tackle. But now in the NFL, what you're seeing is, because now so much effort is these left tackles are really good.
Yes.
So if I put him on the right side, I can take care of him. Oh, but what about that other guy on the other side? Let's move him to the left, and he's going up against that right tackle, who probably isn't as good a pass protector as the left side.
Then they're dropping a tight end or a running back to try to help.
And now, here's the difference from when I first started doing this. If they put you on the left and you going up against a right tackle, I was up against a tight end. Now what the tight ends are.
Right. Yeah.
I'm way over here. They flex those babes out.
Right.
So now I'm one-on-one against a right tackle who isn't quite as
good as
athletic, or maybe the pass protector the left tackle is.
Although, again, a lot of teams are trying to make sure they have a bookends here now.
Good luck, man. You better have a thick payroll.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there. All right. A lot of people wanted Tajay Spears in the third round. I think that, and my thought was, Kamara's going to be out for a while. Kamara's had a lot of tread on that tire. Maybe, again, this is a guy that's the heir apparent to Kamara, and when he's out, he's a Kamara guy. The Saints saw it different. They wanted a big physical back. Obviously, the situation with Mark Ingram last year, they didn't have that. Your thoughts on Kendre Miller and what he brings to the table?
I had him actually going like one pick ahead of them.
Okay.
So he went almost exactly kind of where I thought he would go. And I know Sonny Dykes really well, especially he was
Head coach at
he was
TCU,
at
right?
Louisiana Tech for a long time. So he was down here trying to get them Bayou boys to go to Louisiana Tech. They got a few, but they didn't have too many. So he told me the story about Kendra, that he grew up in a little small town right on the border of Louisiana, Texas. Okay, he was going to UT San Antonio. He had verbally committed there. He said, Mike, as usual, I get it back, and he decides he's not coming to TCU.
Right.
And he was on our second list. So we go to him, we bring him in. We knew he was a good size back, and we knew he could get a little bit bigger. But because he had played in a small level of competition, he said, I thought that would maybe be an adjustment period for him. And he said, that's exactly what happened. So he said, by the time his sophomore year comes around, Zach Evans, the #1 rated running back in the country, who verbally committed to go to Georgia, decides, oh, I'm going to stay, I'm going to go to TCU. I'm going to TCU. He run him out of town. Zach Evans went to Ole Miss. He transferred.
Yeah.
Kendra took over this year. Man, he was a big part of their rushing attack. And he is a speed runner that can turn speed into power. And all those big runs, a lot of it has to do, Eric, is he sees the hole, he gets through, and he powers through an arm tackle. And then he gets into the open field. And, boy, it's like you can hear the gears clicking.
Right.
And he's out into the open field. Man, he's got another gear. A couple times last year, Sonny told me, Max struggled with consistency throwing the ball, especially early. Now, I thought Duggan did really well down the stretch. Really, really well. But he said early on, Max kind of was hit and miss. But he said, hey, I had Miller.
Right.
And we were like, hey, guys, let's not reinvent the wheel here. Okay, if Max is a little off today, feed it to Miller.
Right.
He said, Mike, give him the ball, he'd get 3 yards. Then he'd get 7 yards. Then he'd get 5 yards. And then, pow, it's 23 yards downfield. He said he'd get you the big play.
Running away from guys,
and
right?
he's running away and through guys.
Right.
Here's the negative with him, 6 fumbles. And so, Sonny was, Mike, I'm going to tell you, because when I brought it up, he's like, you watch film, I can tell. He said, you know what he does? I said, I know what he does. He refuses to go down.
Okay.
And he said, we screaming at him on the sidelines, Kendra, go down, go down. But he said he doesn't want to do it. And so he says, you get locked up in a pile, they rip the ball out. So he said, if there's a negative, it's that. Almost, he's too good for his own good, that he's trying so hard. And then, you see, you get caught up in a pile and 2 or 3 guys are pulling and tugging at the ball. Sometimes the ball's going to come out. He was used as a receiver, but not a lot, but he can catch it.
He can?
Yeah, no, I can tell, Eric, he catches the ball, and when the ball hits him, it's here.
Right.
It's not up against his chest.
Right.
He's catching it here. They didn't do that a lot because Max wasn't great at that.
Okay.
Max would much rather throw it downfield.
Right.
But when they threw that little screen, and what he's really good at is that inside screen where Duggan would roll out like left or right, and Kendrick would sit in the middle. They'd throw it to him. And, Sonny was like, Mikey just turned that head, and he was like, man, ain't nobody going to bring me down.
Right.
And he said he was off to the races. So he can catch the ball, but then he sustains the MCL injury against Michigan.
Right.
And he didn't play in the national championship game. And, Sonny had to cover all that up. He didn't want to say nothing, but you knew he wasn't going to play. He came on with us right after he got selected on WWL, and he made the comment, I'll be ready for training camp. I'm starting to run. I'll be ready for training camp. But you got to understand him coming off the MCL. Deuce had to deal with it. Hold on, young grasshopper. Take your time, young grasshopper. Hey, you don't have to rush into this. But he's talented. With Tajay, man, I do get it. I do knew that some teams had red flagged him because of the knee. Because of the knee.
Tennessee, you're close to Tennessee.
Rand called me a couple days before, and we spoke. And I told him, it was what it was. Man, he carried this team on his back.
Right.
Did you see anything that would indicate that was a knee issue, the way he ran the ball? But, sometimes, look, the medical doctors, they tell you red flag him. You got, as a coach, you got to, or your general manager, you got to be able to go with what the medical doctors say.
Do want to ask you one more question about Kendrick Miller, and that is pass protection.
He's decent at it, okay? The only guy in this draft class I think was really good at it is Bijan.
Right.
Man, he was catching them left and right. And it's remarkable. He was a star. Them guys coming off the edge, coming up the middle, he pick them up. Okay. So there is a little bit of a learning curve for Kendra to do that. But it's not about talent.
Right.
It's about, do you want to do it? Okay, you can pass protect.
Yeah.
We're not asking you to mow somebody down. We're asking you to just protect the quarterback.
Yes.
And so I think he'll get better at it. What I saw, he was decent with it.
Before we go to break, when you look at the first 3 picks, and those guys are normally plug and play, are they plug and play?
I think there are roles for all 3. I think Brian's going to be part of the rotation at defensive tackle. And I think they'll move him a little bit. I know I would.
Right.
I would move him. Isaiah, the vision for him is defensive end. Eventually to be the guy to take Cam's place somewhere down the line. But I would use him as a designated pass rusher.
Okay.
And again, who's going to sap up the production that Caden Ellis has? And the thing is, he could stand up just like what Ellis did a lot. With Miller, if he's healthy, he's got a role, and he better.
Right.
Because we know what's going to happen with Alvin.
Yes.
With that. And so
he should be in a rotation with Williams, especially depending on whether Alvin's out first 6 games, middle 6 games, or final 6 games. When that suspension comes down, he'll be in the rotation.
He'll be part of the one thing he got is a lot of confidence.
There you go.
His deal is, I'm not coming here to be no backup.
Right.
He told us that right off the bat. I'm not coming here to be no backup.
Right.
I'm going to be the starter. And that's great to have. I'd much rather you have that than you, man, I'm not real sure if I can play in the NFL. He's got a lot of it. But you know what? How he grew up, I get it. You grew up in a town of 400 people, and everybody says you can't make it. Everybody says you're not the man.
Right.
Okay, I ran that 5-star recruit off, didn't I?
Right.
Look what I did at TCU. I helped them. He was a big part of them getting to the national championship game.
I agree.
Big part of that. And so, all these running backs got picked ahead of me.
Right.
I think that's the way he feels for it.
Yep.
He's always going to have that chip, knowing, man, where he grew up at and where I grew up at, man, it makes like Matthews look like a metropolitan area.
There you go. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio, is our guest. I'm your host, Eric Asher. We're here from our underwriters. We'll go through the rest of the draft, undrafted free agent gems that may be out there, all that coming up here on Inside New Orleans Sports. Stay tuned.
Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration has been family-owned and operated since 1989. Burkhart has energy-efficient solutions and offers brands such as Mitsubishi ductless AC units and Amana, the only manufacturer with a lifetime unit replacement warranty. Burkhart's offers maintenance bundle packages that include servicing your AC, generator, and tankless water heater. For more information on the services Burkhart's provides, visit acpromise.com. Burkhart's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration, providing comfort for life.
Located at 3701 Iberville Street in Mid-City is Katie's Restaurant and Bar. Open 7 days a week, Katie's offers daily specials for lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch. Serving New Orleans cuisine such as fried shrimp platters, grilled redfish, and a fully stocked bar. And don't forget about our expanded event seating and local entertainment. Featured on the Best of Food Network's diners, drive-ins, and dives, Katie's Restaurant and Bar.
Welcome back to Inside New Orleans Sports. I'm your host, Eric Asher. Mike Detillier of WWL Radio is our guest. Mike, let's go to round 4. This is a day. I was really happy to see that Mickey Loomis restrained himself, on the first couple of days.
Not that they didn't try to.
Right. They didn't trade any of the picks away. In the 4th round, they started to move. They moved up to the top of the 4th round to get Nick Salaverity, offensive tackle out of Old Dominion. You talked a little bit about him earlier, a guy that is going to move inside. They swapped 4th round picks. They gave up their 5th round pick at 165 to be able to get this offensive lineman. Tell us a little bit about him. And again,
I didn't think he'd be there.
So you thought he was going to go higher?
I had him ranked as a mid-3rd round pick. My thing was he has played tackle,
right,
and he can,
right.
But I thought he was better off inside as a guard. Man, for being at Old Dominion, one, he's a big guy, but secondly, he knows how to tie you up. He is a very physical run blocker. He's gotten much better as a pass protector. Now he's going to need a little bit of work. More, not so much the hands as much as his footwork. Sometimes he's a little awkward with his footwork. And I watch footwork a lot with linemen. And sometimes it's a little bit too close. So, but that to me is correctable. I can correct that. But man, he's got a want-to attitude. He came into the Senior Bowl. A lot of people, I know they didn't have him ranked as I did, thought he was a late-round pick. And he goes in there, I can play right tackle, I can play right guard, hey, I can play center, just give me a chance.
Yes.
No, he wanted every opportunity, and he made the most of it. And he is going to be a very quick pickup guy.
Okay.
He gets it. I'm telling you, Eric, he's getting it. Everybody's all about the quarterback and this and that. No, if you're looking at a pick other than the top 3, it's Saldiveri.
Okay.
That's the guy.
Is he a right side guy, a left side guy?
For me, he's much more of a right side guy because he's a power player.
Okay.
He's got good athletic ability. He's not a great movement guy, but he's good.
Okay.
I don't need him to be great. I'm not having him in the Olympic Games.
Right.
Okay. I want him to play football. He's a power guy, so I definitely say on the right side.
Pete is on a 1-year deal now. He'll be a free agent at the end of the year. They did not pick up the $14.5 million fifth-year option on
Cesar
Ruiz now. The vision is probably right side taking where Pete is. What do you think? Well, as we stop for a moment, the situation with Ruiz is it a prove it to me deal this year?
I think
you think
it is.
Do you think they're going to try to get him to a longer term deal?
I wouldn't rule it out completely that they go, but okay, he's coming off of a foot injury. Okay, so he had surgery and that sort of thing. And then we'll see what happens. I would not rule it out completely they go back to him and say, hey, look, we'll get you this deal. But I think it's an indication, Eric. We're not happy with our guard play.
Right, as they should not be.
And I'm not happy with their guard play either. So all this stuff you were reading about, they graded this one out. He's the 3rd best guard in the NFL, the 2nd best guard. They didn't pick up the option on Ruiz, and they basically got Andres Pete on a 1-year deal. Right. So explain to me all your great ratings that you try to feed to us in different outlets, and yet the Saints don't feel that way. Because if that was the case, I'd pick up the option with Ruiz.
You wouldn't have renegotiated the deal with Pete.
Exactly. So it does go to show you, they telling you without telling you, we're probably going to have 2 new guards next year, and one of those guards will be Nick Saldiveri.
Jake Haener, quarterback out of Fresno State. The Saints, again, sent their 5th-round pick, 227 overall, and next year's 4th-round pick, which, again, we found out today, the Saints will have 2 4th-round compensatory picks and a 6th-round pick, which, again, I figured that was the deal why they felt comfortable in doing that. They sent that to Jacksonville to move up to pick Haener. Your thoughts?
I like him. He's under 6 foot tall. I know they listed him at 6 foot. Okay. I can put anything in a program.
Yes, you can.
But he's smart. He's accurate. He does well setting his feet and throwing on balance. I think, a lot of times you see these quarterbacks, and some of them that got picked way ahead of him, man, they on their tippy toes or they throwing off balance. Man, with Jake, he sets up strong, pow, over the top. He's smart with it. He's accurate. I can't teach that.
You can't teach accuracy.
I can get you maybe a little bit better, but I can't teach you to be accurate. People say, what happened with Josh Allen? Look who he was throwing to. Yeah, dudes dropping the ball left and right on Josh Allen at Wyoming. And how many guys from Wyoming are playing in the National Football League today?
Sure.
On offense that played with Josh. Haener is smart. He's accurate. He's tough. And he processes information quickly.
Boy, that's checking all the boxes for quarterback, right?
Now, okay.
Now, the only thing, the arm, right? Is that a little
Well,
question?
the one thing, and I did write this, I'm going to put it out on Twitter and Facebook, is that the longer ball sort of floated on him.
Okay.
But they had a quarterback that was like that here before.
Yeah.
It sort of floated on him, too. He's not known for the long ball, but my thing is, what's the percentage of hitting the long ball anyway in this league? Man, just eat up downfield.
Right.
And when I'm talking about deep ball, I'm talking about like 35 to 40 yards or deeper. He can throw the ball really well in that 20 to 30 yard area.
Zip to be able
He's got zip, and it's on target, Eric. I mean, it is right on target with him. He got downgraded like most people would downgrade you for. You're not 6 foot tall, and you don't have the cannon arm.
Yeah.
My thing is, so what?
Accuracy is the most important attribute to me for a quarterback.
That in here.
Right.
You got to know what you're doing. And so he should have been the starting quarterback at Washington. Okay? That was a lot of controversy back then. Why he left. Because he thought he beat out Jake Browner. He thought he beat him out. And I think everybody covering Washington Huskies thought he beat him out. But the coach decided it's Jake. Well, that's why the coach ain't there no more. He got run off too. Because Browning, he couldn't make it happen. So he left, but it was the year before you could leave and not have to sit out a year. So he had to sit out that year before he goes to Fresno State. He put up some tremendous numbers there. And again, he's not playing with an all-star team around him at Fresno State. Wasn't doing it. He was making it happen. And when he got hurt for a couple games, Eric, they wasn't even in the same area code as a team. He carried them. He carried him. He goes to the Senior Bowl. He took over. Hey, I'm the 5-star general. Y'all listen to what I'm telling you. This is what we're going to do. That's why he got voted MVP.
Yeah. Perennial backup or future starter?
I think you understand he's coming in as the backup.
Yes.
Does he have the tools to eventually be a starter? Maybe so. And if you got that in the 4th round,
well, yeah. Oh, come on.
It's stealing, so to speak. And so we'll see how well all of that pieces together with him. But I like him a lot better than Ian Book coming out of Notre Dame. But Book was somebody Sean wanted.
Yeah, right.
Sean fell in love with him before the draft, and he ended up picking him. The one thing with Book was every other throw, it was like he had been shot. When he threw the ball, he was always falling back, almost like you could hear like the bullet going into his chest or his shoulder. And it was a bad habit. I suspect, Eric, what happened when he was in high school, he got hit a lot. So he developed this little kind of twitch that, okay, when I'm I'm throwing it. And sometimes there was nobody even there. But it gets in your head. Man, the one thing with Jake Haener, it's on target, he's accurate, he hangs in there, and he is a very vocal and loud leader on the field. He lets you know he's in charge.
Well, he's got two guys that he's looking at. One got obviously formerly Fresno State, Derek Carr, and of course his idol, Drew Brees. Jordan Howden, safety out of Minnesota. Talk about the pick and talk about what you think their vision is for him.
Man, I'm getting old, Larry. I saw his dad play at Grambling. His dad was a quarterback at Grambling, and his cousin actually was a DB at San Diego State. So he's got some genetics there. Track star in high school. That's what he was noted for. He was a track star. He was a big-time track guy. Deuce and I are doing the show with him, and he brought up something that I picked up. He said, maybe I didn't take care of business like I should have in high school. He said, I had to buckle down late. He got a preferred walk-on to go to Minnesota, which means all these California teams passed on him. Hey, you can go somewhere else. So if it was grades, maybe if it was he wasn't focused, he goes there as a corner. He said, after 2 days, Coach Fleck told me, you're going to have to play safety. And so he said, man, I was up to it. I'll play safety. He had over 500 snaps on special teams. Special teams. He played a ton of football at Minnesota. What I would look at him as is a free safety that could potentially even move to strong. Now, he's built. But ain't a lot of guys that can run like him. I mean, okay, his official time was 4.47, which is good. But Eric, he's run much better than that. And I know a little bit about track athletes and that sometimes depending on when you run, you get a little bit different times. But he can flat out run and cover a lot of area. What he is known for is getting up the field and making a play against the run.
Can he go to the slot? Some people think he's next Gardner Johnson. Is that a fair comparison?
I would certainly give him a shot there. And it's just how quickly he can start to pick up everything.
But he's going to be a special team player from the beginning.
Right off the, and a good one. He knows how to do that really well. His run support skills are good. He's a good open field tackler. And when he's one-on-one with a receiver or a tight end, he's done a good job in coverage. And you love his attitude, okay? The fact that he would tell you, not everything was right, but it's nobody's fault but mine.
Yeah.
I didn't take care of business. And then, you know, he goes to Minnesota as a preferred walk-on. Didn't take him long to give him a scholarship. Say, man, that guy can play.
Yes.
And to do what he's done in 4 years, he was impressive there. And he goes to the East-West Shrine game. Man, he was hitting cats, and they were going back. And so you can see his aggressive nature and his physicality.
Let's talk about the 6th round pick. A lot of people believe that's the steal of the Saints draft. A.T. Perry, wide receiver out of Wake Forest. Now, again, they traded Troutman and a 7th round pick, 257 overall, to Denver. Now, again, Troutman, when he came out, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round pick was given up for him in a trade with Minnesota to get Troutman. 4 years, I think it was 24 catches was the best that he had as a pro so far in his 3-year tenure. He complained that the Saints weren't using him correctly. He wanted to be more of a pass-catching tight end, and they were using him as an inline blocker. Obviously, Peyton, again, liked him to give up those draft picks for him. Your thoughts on the trade first?
Well, I knew he wasn't going to be here long.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because as a blocker, he got spun around like a top. And was he?
Which I didn't understand. Why would you want to make him a blocking tight end? If again, he came out of Dayton as a receiving tight end.
But again, the thing with him is, did he impress you as a receiver?
Right. No.
Was he getting open?
No.
So my thing is, you know, they got a lot of Dr. Phils in this world, and Sean's one of them. You know, he really thinks that, you know, Dr. Phil, I can change anybody. Yes. He didn't change Troutman. No. He seemed to be almost a little bit overwhelmed with the NFL. And I get that, small college guy.
Dayton.
I get that particular deal. He didn't overly impress me as a run blocker at all. And then as a receiver, my thing is just get open, dude. They're going to throw you the football. A couple times he made some nice catches. And so for every one good catch, then, you know, he disappears, you know, the next couple plays when they're looking for him to make a play, especially red zone, short yardage, move the chains. He's covered. So you blaming that on the Saints? No, that's a little bit on you too. I think he showed his immaturity that way. Why didn't you say, okay, I'll get another change of life. I'll go with Sean. I know he's going to use me more as a receiver. Well, it's almost a little bit of immaturity with him.
Come out and make the comment.
And my thing is, why are you blaming someone else? You didn't light it up.
Look in the mirror.
Yeah, well, he don't want to do that. And so I wasn't surprised at all they dealt him off, and not really surprised Sean picked him up. Perry's an interesting player because he is what you want to call the ultimate contested catch guy.
Which is what they need.
You know, this team, if it's a 50-50 ball, it's more like 20-80. That 20% they're going to catch it. 80% it won't be caught. And Perry's good at that. Now, is he a super fast guy? No, but that's not what you're looking for in that anyway. He's got really good, what I call timing skills for the ball in flight. He brought up to us, I didn't test well one-on-one interviews. You know why? He doesn't say a lot. You know, he's sort of an introvert that, I guess you're so used to having receivers chew your ear off about things, and he's the complete opposite. Brought up in a military family, and he gets it on that.
What about the character issues that he mentioned? Because nobody's ever talked about what it was.
No, I don't get it either. I've had people at Wake Forest say we don't really know exactly what he was talking about. Now, listen, anytime you're in college, there is a part of you that sometimes maybe you don't practice as hard as other times. But, you know, nothing that I heard of that was major. But, okay, everybody matures differently. The 18-year-old Mike Detillier and Eric Asher is a lot different. Well, I don't know how much more different for me. It's a lot more for you.
Well, I don't know about that either.
But, you know, it's different as you get older, you mature. But I think why he didn't come off well, doesn't talk a lot. And I think a lot of these scouts, they so used to having a receiver. Man, you get them in a room, dude, it's to stop them.
Yeah.
No, I work with one like that. No, he's not a receiver, but he used to be a quarterback.
Is he a plug-and-play guy?
I think he can help you down in distance.
Okay.
Down in distance. Short yardage, red zone. Get up and go get it, Perry.
Right.
Get up and go get it. And he's the one thing with him that I noticed, especially early in a game, he dropped passes.
Okay.
Easy catches. And I'm not talking about contested catches. I'm talking about easy catches. But they were early in the game. And it's almost like throw it to him and let him get his drop and finish with it.
Right.
Okay. You don't like that in the NFL because you don't get too many chances.
Yes.
But I did notice if he's got a habit, is that one. That a real easy catch, not the contested ones, real easy catch, and he would drop it. But then after that, he was fine. Right. It's almost like you had to get it out of your system a little bit, you know. But I have seen other receivers like that.
Undrafted free agents that you feel have a chance to make this team.
I like Joel Wilson, the tight end from Central Michigan. Former quarterback, defensive back in high school. He goes to Central Michigan, say, you can't play either. Play tight end. Man, he catches the ball really, really well. Over 70 catches the last 2 years. He knows how to find the end zone. He's a crafty route runner, and he catches the ball well in space and in what I call short distance space, where they got people around him. He makes a nice catch with it. So I like him. Certainly Nick Anderson. Okay, they list Nick at 5'10", but come on, we taped him out. He's 5'9".
Right.
You know, but man, he makes plays. He's all over the field.
I agree with you.
He does not have great length, which a lot of times matters more to me than the height, because if you got some length, you can work around bigger blockers quicker. But man, he's got a way of kind of working around that real fast. Got a lot of want to. He grew up being a Saints fan, and you know, he told me this story about because I'd heard his grandfather's the mayor in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Man, biggest Saints fan you ever want to see.
Right.
So he said, man, I was always a Saints fan, and hard-hitting, violent, open field hitter. And he's gotten better in the coverage part of the game. He was on with us Monday, and he talked about how much I worked in reverse this offseason, because I knew they're going to ask that. Right off the bat, he's going to make some plays on special teams, and he is going to make some collisions that sound like a 5-car wreck. I mean, he can flat out play. And when you thought about Tulane last year, the two guys that didn't get a lot of ink, Tajay was unbelievable. And he deserved everything that they give him. Dorian Williams and Nick Anderson. Man, when you needed a play on defense, it was one of the two. And I talked to a couple of offensive coordinators that were playing Tulane, and their deal was, man, Dorian's probably the better NFL prospect. You know who's the scary guy is Nick Anderson. Because even if you think you got him blocked, he somehow gets away. And okay, he's 5'9". He doesn't have great length. He knows how to maneuver around and get around big people. It's a big people world when you play in that combat zone. But man, he's good at it, Eric. So I think on special teams, I think is where he's going to make his mark very, very quickly. And of course, he's got a guy that he molds himself after is in the Hall of Fame now. So, and the Saints fans know a little bit about the field mouse, Sam Mills. All right, $14 million under the cap. Post-draft free agency, I've listed tight end, wide receiver, linebacker, defensive end as needs. What are your thoughts? Tight end especially. Okay. I think especially on offense. And you got no depth at linebacker. Right. None. If something happens to, oh man. Right. DeMario Davis. Right. You got some issues. You got issues. And so. Now the tight end market does, I mean, when you look at it, it's really not a lot. So that's probably a trade, or maybe again, maybe a team that cuts a veteran. Or a guy that is on the kind of last footing. Yes. Because, you know, it's been brought up, Cameron Brate from Tampa Bay. Yeah. And was here in camp with the Saints, right? And then ended up in Tampa. Yeah, Sean had told me the story. He said, you know, we saw him, and then we pick him up, we put him on our practice squad. Well, we didn't realize the Bucs were just maneuvering and then they made one maneuver and they pulled him off our practice squad to go to that back on that 53. Ended up being a good player for him. He's at the end of his career. You see it. I think money, because, you know, Cameron, if I'm going to come back and play, you're going to pay me. So that's part of it. Is he a slam bang type blocker? No, but he knows how to get in the way. It would be the Band-Aid to get you to next year on that. And
Are you
I agree.
surprised they didn't pick up a tight end in the draft?
A little bit, yes. Because, man, this is if it's not the best, it's got to be one of the 2 best tight end groups
It was a
ever
deep
done.
group, right?
Ever done. And I've done this 37 years. That's a lot of tight ends. Here's the crazy part about Wilson, what I spoke about. I had him ranked as a 6th-round pick. How did he not get drafted? So, the draft has a lot of ebbs and flows in it, into the deal. And so I think tight end linebacker for me would be the 2 areas of concern because of the fact, boy, you really don't have much past that linebacking core other than guys that have really been special teams type players.
I agree. Got about a minute left. Did the Saints help themselves to the point that they are a playoff team now?
Well, I think they're the best team in the NFC South. But by the end of the year, you know that huffing and puffing you're going to hear behind you? It's going to be the Panthers.
Well,
because no matter what, Bryce is going to struggle early like every rookie quarterback is. But I think by midseason, Bryce is going to say, man, I get this game a little bit.
Plus that athleticism, right?
And the only thing bad is for them, and good for the Saints, they didn't stockpile receivers. Atlanta's the most intriguing team because now you're hearing rumors that they had talks with the Cardinals for Kyler Murray. So all this stuff about how much we love Desmond Ritter goes to show that was a bunch of horse hockey too. But they got the one guy that I think will have the quickest impact as a rookie in the NFL, and that's Bijan Robinson. No, he's the real McCoy.
Yes, he is.
Now, how many teams would pick a running back in the top 10? Not many. But, man, for what Arthur does offensively, and remember, before he got to Tennessee, Derrick Henry, man, I don't know about Derrick Henry. Man, Arthur, what? You know, feed him the ball. Derrick Henry, now I'm not trying to compare him to Derrick Henry, but, man, Bijan is going to have a major impact in this game, and they've gotten better on defense. But I think the Saints, because of Derek Carr, and because of what they have returning on defense, they're the best team in the NFC South as we speak. Unless somebody would make a major maneuver.
All right, good deal. Mike, thanks as always for joining us on the program. One more time, tell the folks about the radio show.
4 to 7, 8, whatever, every day on WWL. Me and Bobby, Monday through Thursday.
There you go. Thank you so much for being with us. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Again, so many ways to be able to catch our program now. We're so blessed. Again, there's a QR code on your screen right now. Click it on your phone. It'll take you either to my website, ericasher.com, or the WLAE-TV YouTube page. Here's the easy way to do it. Pick your favorite showtime, set your DVR. You'll never miss Inside New Orleans Sports. You catch me on the radio, 106.1 FM, Nash Icon. That is weekdays 4 to 6. iHeartRadio up, TuneIn Radio up, our digital platforms, ericasher.com, and the Nash website, also on the World Wide Web. I want to thank our underwriters who make this show possible. Each and every one of those underwriters, we appreciate them. Please continue the support of those underwriters. And, of course, our friends here at WLAE who do a fantastic job producing our program. Ron Yeager, Jim Dotson, Lou Grafia, also Alex Chacon, and our director, William Hill. For Mike Detillier, I'm Eric Asher. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back for another week, for another edition of Inside New Orleans next week.